What's up, everybody? Back at you with another video. I hope everyone is doing well during these trying times. Uh, Sometimes, I'm only human, so my content varies. On my channel, you see the name The Crypto Wonder, and then I'll just drop a musical piece. Or you'll see Crypto Wonder, and I'll talk about stimulus checks like I'm about to talk about right now. You see Crypto Wonder, and I'll talk about the global international health crisis taking place and the economic turmoil that's going on. But it's just how it is. But I'm going to try to keep this straight to the point and deliver more thoughts on the situation. The more that I think about politics, when I used to, when I was much younger, I used to hear opposing views from both sides, red and blue, Democrat, Republican, and outside of those parameters, those parties, different views on how, politicians can't be trusted overall. And it was hard because as a child, or as a young person, a young adult growing up, you think about the government, you're thinking, well, shouldn't the government help people? Shouldn't politicians who work for the government essentially help people? Well, yeah, in a perfect world, in I guess a utopian type of society, sure, right? But we live in a society that's far from perfect, far from utopian. I don't think there's a perfect government system, period. If you identify one system, you'll always have an opposing view. Always. You can't make everyone happy. So here we are, 2020, approaching June, and the country is suffering to levels that we didn't prepare. Many of us didn't prepare. Many of us weren't ready. To many of us, this came blindsided us. This was by surprise. Many of us are tax-paying citizens, law-abiding citizens, law-abiding workers, law-abiding business owners, law-abiding small business owners. Like, many of us are doing the right thing, and we're getting shafted. We're getting shafted by what's going on right now, The reason why I like cryptocurrency, and I call myself the Crypto Wonder, is because there's another personality that actually advised me to use that name, Crypto Wonder. And so I took it and I ran with it. Cryptocurrency can afford to introduce changes, to introduce real world change, real world solutions to a myriad of problems that's existing. And let me give you an example. With the blockchain technology that currently exists, that cryptocurrency thrives upon, right? An insurmountable amount of development is being done on a multitude of blockchains. But this thing here with the stimulus checks, with the IRS not being able to, ramp up their equipment or modernize their technology, or just they don't have the manpower to process, even like simple taxes or issuing stimulus checks. People have to wait till next year so that they could file, on their, tax returns to receive monies that they were supposed to have received, for this year, that they have to wait till next year to receive. Blockchain technology can streamline a lot of those things. Many people haven't received monies at all. Many people haven't received monies for their children, as far as $500 a child. Many people haven't received that, and they're told, wait till next year. If this was written all on the blockchain, we would not be dealing with these types of problems. That's just a fact. This is part of why cryptocurrency is in itself revolutionary. That's one example. It's one example of the change that crypto can afford everyone. Okay? Um, to hear that the Senate, they're on recess right now. They're on vacation while the world is undergoing an international, let's pause the world. We're talking about the United States, America. While this country is undergoing this disastrous economic turmoil right here, we have our government leaders who are on recess. If that's not a glaring problem, if people can't look at that and say, look, what if the people who are identified as frontline workers, essential workers, like myself, what if we took a recess and a break? What would happen then? But these politicians who are supposed to be, representatives of the people, who are supposed to be, working on our behalf, could just take vacations in the middle of a crisis, in the middle of a situation where people don't know how and when they're going to be able to eat, how and where they're going to be able to live, because in some cases the eviction moratorium are getting lifted by June 1st. The first states that I've read about that are now going to start evictions all over again are Texas, Oklahoma. So what's going to happen to those people? Every week, the Department of Labor is issuing numbers upwards of millions and millions of people who are documented unemployed, registered. We're not talking about those who haven't registered or those who don't qualify or are eligible for unemployment. The ones who are registered now, it's upwards of more than 40 million within the last 2.5 months. That's another issue that blockchain can address, the unemployment fiasco, because some people haven't received those checks yet, which the federal government, as far as the $600 a week, that's going to end at the end of July. And there's no talks of that being even extended because the department, the going back to housing with the rent evictions that are going to ensue again. The head of the Housing Urban Development, Dr. Ben Carson, a surgeon who's the head of the Housing Urban Development, the federal agency, claims that he doesn't see that there's no problem with housing. There's no real crisis taking place. Unemployment levels are not as high. And I'm asking myself here, where is he getting his information from? The disconnect cannot be that wide. I mean, I'm asking myself, are we serious? What is going on between the government and the people? What is going on between some members of the government and the people? Are they living, again, and I say this, are they living in some type of, sky citadel environment in the sky removed from Earth, where they just are so detached from what's really going on? First of all, you have a surgeon who's the head of Housing, Urban, and Development. Make that connection make sense. Who's saying that the likelihood of any housing assistance or, anything being done to help people recover from not being able to pay rent due to having job losses and being unemployed, he thinks that there's no need for relief. The unemployment thing is also a fiasco. Not everyone is receiving unemployment. But if it was on the blockchain, it would help. They would receive it a lot quicker than they're receiving it, than they're not receiving it at all. These are some of the changes that cryptocurrency brings to the table. Just some. You want to talk about voting. This issue because it's an election year, a presidential election year, and how, people are talking about mail-in votes, and the president is very anti-mail-in votes because it could breed corruption and people can cheat on voting. Blockchain, put it on the blockchain, that can address all of that. It's there. It's simple. What if the essential workers, the frontline workers, healthcare, whatever you want to call it, the people who've been working through this economic crisis, what if we said, no, that's it, we're going to take a vacation? I mean, it's just certain things that just, how you have something that's bothering you, and all you have to do is pretty much scratch it and it's gone, but you ignore it, and it just keeps gnawing at you and gnawing at you and gnawing at you. This is what this reminds me of. Like certain things, it's like, to me, I know I'm rambling because I do that. Shout out to the new viewers and the new subscribers. Welcome. I jump all over the place sometimes because I don't write anything down when I'm presenting information and speaking and doing my videos. It's just the style that I choose. What if, what, I don't see how taking a vacation, how help that makes us so that the government people could wait and see how the CARES Act has helped boost the economy. For the president to say that this economy will be raging, the reopening will be, a raging economy when it reopens. It'll just when, where, how, when people have been traumatized. Whether you believe that there's an illness, whether you believe that it's just some kind of conspiracy to scare the people, to keep them home, that people are going to die anyway, that COVID is just a simple flu, or it's just a mutation of a flu, and it's just there to control people, whether you believe all of that or not, people have been dying, people have been out of work, businesses have shut down, grocery prices are going through the roof, skyrocketing through the roof. Folks are not receiving stimulus checks. There's no talks of a second stimulus checks anytime soon because they're on vacation. All you're hearing is about testing, and then doing some contact tracing. You could test today and then be infected tomorrow. Then what happens? How valid are your tests? We have no idea what's going on. Wearing a mask, if you don't wear a mask, it's a political stance you're taking now. This mask thing has become completely political. I mean, here we are. What say you all? What say you? What say you? Oftentimes, I mean, I say this is, it's when you push somebody, or it's almost like you corner an animal against a wall, against their will. They're going to strike back. Not to say that we're animals, but in a way we're being treated as animals. When you have this economist, Trump advisor, refer to American workers as human capital stock. Which implies, I mean, it just reminds me of livestock. I understand what he means, if that's the terminology he's used to because of, being involved with economics and finances, and these are this is his verbiage. But we're just numbers, we're just feed, we're just cattle in the grand scheme of things. We're just a bunch of zeros and ones and numbers. They don't care about our well-being, because the bottom line is it's all about money. It's all about money. It's all about money. When you talk about healthcare, how are we going to pay for the healthcare? We have to pay for it. Who pays for it? Yeah, we're sick and everything. Go save these people. But everything that's attached to saving these people, having the hospitals, having the equipment, having the medicine, having the staff, you have to pay for every one of those elements involved. Money's involved. What are the states doing? They're crying. What are the local governments doing? They're crying. Is it because that the states and the local governments mismanage their books and they're using the health crisis as a way to just overextend themselves, to say, hey, listen, look at what we're doing. We need the help. We can't do this by ourselves. If you don't help us, we're gonna fire cops. We're gonna fire firefighters. We're gonna fire teachers. Because that's the 20. When you hear about in New York, when you hear about 20% cuts, people are gonna get fired. They just don't want to say it. People are going to get fired across the board, but people are going to get fired anyway. I think it's just that, this crisis uncovered a lot of ugly, more than some people expected, more than some people were prepared for. It uncovered a lot of ugly, a lot of things, exposed a lot, and people are just trying to save face, just like how this latest bill that the House of Representatives just pushed to the Senate, which supposedly was dead on arrival. They want to add things to the bill that they know they couldn't have gotten away with if it was any other time. So it's these games that people are playing, and who's the bottom line? Who's getting affected? It's like a bad marriage. It's like a bad marriage between a husband and a wife. And who's getting affected by this? The children. And we're the children. We're the human stock capital. We're the slaves. We're the people, the numbers, the ants, the animals, whatever you want to call it. The minions that are getting affected by all of this. The common denominator in all of this is us. We get shafted. Not the elitists, not the heads of corporations, and certainly not these elected officials who are on vacation. And I've said this already, I don't think there's going to be any stimulus, anything, or nothing. If there's a stimulus check, people are not going to receive that until after the 4th of July. I'll be surprised if they push something. Let's say something, they come back next week. Next week they have to debate. So who, and look how slow they move. They have to debate, and they're still waiting to see this whole time. So they have to debate, fight and argue, right? Because they're not the ones that are out of work. They're not the ones that, don't have any jobs to go back to. Many people don't have jobs to go back to. But they're going to be debating next week and possibly the week after that. And we might get something signed by the end of next month, to where we're going to be told that after July 4th, because they're going on vacation again. They have to. It's the summer, and it's 4th of July. They have to go on. They're going to go on vacation again, and then they're going to start issuing checks. And look how well that's turned out. The CARES Act was signed March 30th, 31st, and people still haven't received their stimulus. And we're approaching the end of May. This is like, May 28th, 29th? So people are not going to see anything till probably July, August, as far as the second check. They don't want to issue any stuff. They see, this is part of why I say that this is all confusing. It's a mess. This is a mess. It's a mess. And it's affecting us because this is what we're bombarded with every day. Those of us who pay attention, we're bombarded with this kind of stuff every day. And sometimes we seek help, we seek relief because we're in pain. We're suffering. And we're looking for some way to alleviate the pain and suffering and emotional, psychological damage that's taking place while they're on recess. That tells you where their interest truly lies. Hospitals can't go on recess, right? But what if they did? Law enforcement can't go on recess, right? But what if they did? Everyone else who's identified as a frontline worker, essential sanitation, everyone else, store owners, store employees and clerks, everyone else who's just everyone, even drivers, transportation, everyone else who's been working through these hard times, if we all took a vacation, then if we all took a recess, then what? What would that spark? My goodness, we can't, it's just, it can't, people just can't be this indifferent. Just can't be this indifferent. Indifference is a disease too.